What is up, guys, and welcome to another edition of Market Marauders, speed the market one trade at a time. If you're new to Market Marauders, investment channel helps you to find the best deals in the market. If that's something you're interested in, make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Definitely helps the YouTube algorithm promote the videos. All right, so I'll be giving you my year-end recap. As you know, 2020 was just a crazy year for everybody. In my opinion, everybody was definitely affected by this 2020 in one way or another, whether it's positive or negative. So I'm just going to be giving my recap of how my 2020 went, as well as some of the moves that maybe you're new to investing and you're just jumping in to investing, or you want to start investing in 2021, and you want to know what moves happened last year. This is kind of a recap of some of the highlights of the stuff that I saw as far as investing is concerned. So first off, we're going to talk about the pandemic. Pandemic hit the market extremely hard. First, we're going to look at SPY. So SPY just tracks the S&P 500. We can see right here around March time frame, February, market just fell off like crazy into April, all the way down to 218.26 from this 336 level. So essentially, we had a market crash back in the middle of 2020. And that was when all the lockdowns and stuff started to happen. I know a lot of people were kind of panicking, like, what should I do? But it was an amazing time in the market because a lot of people got a lot of money. I know I invested heavily when that happened. So it was a great time as far as investing is concerned, a terrible time for the country. I know a lot of people lost jobs and all that stuff happened. We're still fighting, for the stimulus at the current moment with all the votes for the second stimulus coming out. So hopefully they have a vote on that today to get that $2,000 out to everybody. But, the market essentially did fall off, and that's kind of how the investing thing began. So I started my channel, I guess, in 2019. So I'd already had videos out before this market crash happened. But when the market crashed, I really was like, I want to start doing more and more YouTube. So I basically started to go heavier into YouTube, making more and more videos. So you'll see videos way back then. I've had the channel for quite a while, so you'll see videos back then, especially when the market crashed, that I talked about all the stuff that was going on. So it's been a pretty interesting journey, especially from the financial side of it, just tracking it all when it happened. Now, in 2008, when the market crashed, I really wasn't involved in investing. I was, back in high school then, so I really wasn't into YouTube or anything. So now actually seeing that it's happening, being out of college and, in a completely different space in life, I think it's very interesting to see this actually happen. So I'm going to talk about a couple of stocks that I believe had like a fantastic year. The first on here being Apple. If I overlook some stocks that you guys are like, oh, you didn't talk about that one, make sure you drop it down in the comment below. I was not able to track every single stock that happened or had moves this year, but I think these are some of the major ones. So if there's a stock on here that you're like, why didn't you talk about this one? Drop a comment down below. Give your small analysis on it, and it'll hopefully help everybody else in the section down below. Also, while you're down there, make sure you check out the Patreon page where you can go, and I have daily watch list that I give out, so make sure you check that down below in the description as well. So first we'll talk about Apple. Apple had a fantastic year in my opinion. A lot of moves made for them. The market is currently still open, but it's at 132.58 is where Apple is currently at. Some press releases on Apple. So first they switched from their Intel chips. So they had their Apple Day where they announced the different Macs and all the different stuff like that. But they basically announced this M1 chip that they're going to be using their own silicone chip, switching from Intel, which is a huge move in my opinion for the company, and going to be a huge move for them moving forward. So this is basically explaining the CPU power of their chip compared to the other laptops out there on the market. And then just talks about, 8-core CPU, and then up to 3.5 times faster CPU performance than the leading brands out there. So that was one huge move that I think for Apple that came. Another huge move, in my opinion, that happened is that they had a 4-to-1 split. So if we see on here, the last split that they had prior had been in June of 2014. So they had a split, a 4-to-1 split this year on the 28th of 2020. And then prior to that, they had a 7-to-1, but that was in 2014. So that's back in the Steve Jobs era. So it was a long time ago. Back then, and for them to have a split now, I think it was a huge move forward for the company, in my personal opinion. So next, just talking about some of the current press releases they have. They announced new Apple Watches. Recently, they've announced these new over-the-head AirPods Max, which I think look really nice. And then they also have a lot of different things on here with the iPhone 12 release. So the first 5G iPhone came out, Mac OS Big Sur, the chip as well again, the new generation or next generation of Mac. So a lot of updates have been coming. Also, they talked about potentially making a EV car in 2024. So Apple in general, I think, is having a fantastic year. And it's one of the stocks that I think everyone should look at going into 2021. So next company on here that I think had a fantastic year is Tesla. So in my opinion, I think Tesla had the best year of any, well, I guess the second best year of any company that's out there. So Tesla today is at 714. I don't even know where to begin on this one. There's been a lot of things going on with the company as far as them releasing different products, their numbers. So I'm going to try to do a small overview over it so I don't have to dive into this too aggressively. So one of the things that they also had a stock split. So they had a 5-for-1 split. This was on the 28th as well. So this was the same day as the Apple 5-to-1 split. So that was a big move in the company's history. In my personal opinion. Next, they had really good delivery numbers. So this is the one from October. The Model S and X, Model 3 and Y. And these are the deliveries. Then also they had the Gigafactory Shanghai began its operations during this year before the pandemic began. And then they announced Gigafactory Berlin. So basically 2 factories this year. Gigafactory Berlin still being built. And then also you had them being included into the S&P 500. So them being put in the S&P 500, I think, was like the biggest move in my opinion. They had missed it the first time, which was in September, which everyone thought they were going to be put in, but then eventually got S&P 500 inclusion, which I think is going to help the company in the long run. And a lot of people are going to be putting money into it as time goes on. So next, I think the company is going to continue to grow. And the next big activity that I think for the company that was big in this year is Battery Day. So Battery Day, I think, was like one of the biggest events that the company had this year. So this is the presentation from the 2020 Battery Day. This is from their website. Basically, during that time, they announced their semis. They talked about the semis and how much power for their terawatt hour scale battery production. They talked about the new types of batteries. They also talked about the small, compact Tesla that was going to be a cheaper alternative for the company as a whole. And then talking about scaling battery production, future growth, heating, oil heating, future EV. On here, it talks about the $2 trillion invested in materials, cell and battery manufacturing. Just scrolling through this one as fast as possible. Talked about the plan to halve the cost per kilowatt hour. So overview, they just basically had a new cell design, new cell factory, new anode material, new cathode material, and cell vehicle integration. So each one of these just goes into depth on the different ways that they're going to be building this battery, the cost reduction as well. But one of the main things on here that people looked at was the lithium section. So they're going to be using lithium for their batteries moving forward, and I think it's pretty good for them to be doing that. So it says most abundant element in Earth's crust after oxygen, stores 9% more lithium than graphite. silicon is awesome and inexpensive. So they're basically talking about the new batteries that they're going to be making with this raw silicon. So they have the land to do so. They're going to be building it, and it's going to be a lot cheaper and more efficient than beforehand. So this says iron-based long cycle life, nickel plus manganese long range, and then high nickel mass sensitive. So these are basically the batteries that are going to be in the Cybertruck as well as their semis. These are like the home and modern day SUV ones, and then this is talking about the ones that's going to be in the new car that they're going to potentially be making, as well as the other models that they have. So you all can go and look at this article or this presentation. I think it's very interesting. But overall, I think Tesla had a fantastic year in general. I think they're going to continue to grow as time goes on. Next, we have Zoom, which I think Zoom had a fantastic year as well. They definitely were able to take advantage of this stay-at-home section. So basically, when companies were told, hey, you can't come into work because of the pandemic, a lot of companies switched over to using Zoom and Microsoft, which made Teams. But Zoom was really like the main one for video conferencing and video calls. And they basically took tons of advantage of the situation and were basically able to grow their company because of this. So Zoom, going into their financials for this year, basically speak for themselves. So in November, their third quarter revenue was $777.2 million, which is up 367% year over year, which is just an astronomical number compared to where they were previously. The number of customers contributing more than $100,000 in TTM revenue were up 136%, and approximately 433,700 customers with more than 10 employees, up 485% year over year. So these numbers themselves just speak for how much Zoom grew and took advantage of this pandemic situation. Now, as time goes on, we do have a vaccine. We have multiple vaccines out now, but I think Zoom will still be around. I think some companies, have noticed the efficiency from working from home, and I think they're going to continue to do so or integrate it as a regular part of life now. So I think Zoom's not really going anywhere, and I'm definitely interested to see how it performs as 2021 begins. Next, we have NIO, which had a fantastic year as well, in my opinion. Today they're at $49.03, so the market's still open, so that's fluctuating. But they did touch $50.50 this morning. So overall, been going pretty steadily as time has gone on. If we scroll back this one, go to the day chart. For this one, we can see Zoom basically, back in April was like at $3 or $2 a share. So, if we look back at April, it was at $2, $1 a share. Now it's all the way at 50 something a share. So that basically shows you, how good of a year this company has had. So it kind of speaks for itself. Now going into NIO, they are EV company. They make EV vehicles, so similar to Tesla, but the only difference is this company is based in China. So as you know, China being the origins of the whole pandemic situation, really, kind of had this company grow in the midst of the pandemic. So I think it also speaks volumes for the company, saying that it grew during this pandemic, which helps you to see that this is kind of a bulletproof company. So I'm looking forward to see more things come from this company as a whole, and interested to see how they perform into 2021. Next, we have ticker sign PLTR for Palantir, which actually IPO'd this year. So, this chart is really small, but we see they start off their IPO around $8.90, and the highest they've been since their IPO is $33.50. Today, they're at $23.87, but overall, they've had an amazing 2020. Going into press releases from them, we could just see on the 2020 side that if we just read the names of these or the top part of these press releases without clicking on them, we can see they got a $91 million contract here from the U.S. Army. They got a $36 million contract here from NCATS. Then they have a $44 million contract here from the FDA. So, I mean, there's just a lot of different contracts that they're getting, which is going to shape them up to have a fantastic 2021, in my opinion. So, I think that at the current price they're at, they're definitely valued pretty low, especially considering they have these big names and gigantic contracts behind them, supporting them and what they do. So next we have rounding up the top is Amazon. So I think Amazon had the best year, in my personal opinion, over a company like Tesla. Now, Tesla, in my opinion, had the most, I would say, hyped, and the numbers do speak for themselves too, but the most hyped growth. But I think, Amazon's growth was like kind of mind-boggling in my personal opinion. So if we look in March, the stock was selling for $1,626 per share. And if we go here to around the August time frame, it's at $3,552.25 per share. So in the span of about 4 to 5 months, it grew $2,000. So, I mean, that is pretty crazy for any stock to have grown that much in that short amount of time. The only stock that I know that has grown similar to that in actual, price is Tesla. So I think overall Amazon was able to capitalize off this stay at home. A lot of people went and bought things from Amazon when the stores ran out. And Amazon overall was able to take advantage of this pandemic the most, in my opinion. So they had a fantastic 2020. Going to some of their press releases, I mean, they just don't stop working. It's just every other day there's like a different press release of something that's going on. So this is just some of the stuff in December. So they announced a fulfillment center in North Little Rock, announced the first fulfillment center in South Dakota. Then they see we have delivery station in San Antonio, so 2 of them. Then a fulfillment center in Louisiana. I mean, just every day it seems like they're opening something different. They also have Amazon Pharmaceuticals, which kind of, I think, got overshadowed by all the vaccine stocks or vaccine news that came out. But I think that's definitely something people should take into consideration, is that now they're jumping to the pharmaceutical department, which once that rolls out, I think will be a game changer for a lot of people and a lot of companies. So, I'm interested to see how they're going to play that, or how they're going to, do their final rollout for that, and how that's going to actually work. So definitely interesting 2021 setting up for Amazon. So next we'll talk about Bitcoin. So I think Bitcoin has had a fantastic 2021 as well. And I'm definitely going to be looking to potentially get into some more Bitcoin for next year. So if we see, they started their 2020. So if we see on here, January 1st, Bitcoin was at $7,177 per Bitcoin. And now at the end of 2020, they're at $28,678. So essentially, if you would have bought 1 Bitcoin at the first of 2020, you would be positive $20,000 today. So that basically speaks for itself to show how much Bitcoin has grown this year. I mean, up $20,000. Their return, in my opinion, is better than any other stock that's out there. I mean, that growth is higher than Tesla. It's higher than Apple. It's higher than even Amazon. So, I mean, a $20,000 gain in 1 year is kind of unheard of. But, I think this is just the tip of the iceberg for Bitcoin. And I think Bitcoin is going to continue to grow even more into 2021. So, I'm not saying to jump in now, but I'm just saying watch it and see how it performs, because I've seen some crazy evaluations from this. I mean, people saying Bitcoin even going to get to like $660,000 per Bitcoin. But I mean, if it stays on the same trajectory that it's going now, $20,000, a year in growth, I don't see why it couldn't reach that evaluation. So next, in 2020, there were a couple of IPOs that came out. So IPO basically being initial public offering. So there are a lot of companies that went public this year. Just going to touch on some of the ones that I think people may not have known of, or some of the most popular ones. So first we had Airbnb that went public. So Airbnb being the company where you can, basically rent out the place that you live in, or rent out a house that you have for people. Airbnb was like one of the most talked about IPOs this year. And I think, it definitely shows with the stock price jumping up. Next, we have Dash, which is for DoorDash. That was another talked about, a highly publicized IPO. One that was kind of overlooked is AI, which is C3.ai. Definitely going to be looking for more growth from this one as time goes on. They did touch 183.89, but I think they definitely have potential to continue to grow even more into the future. So next we have Fubo for Fubo TV. They have had a pretty decent run up. They're kind of back to the levels where their IPO began, but they did touch 62.25. They had a pretty crazy run off of a press release. I think that they're going to be added to One TV streaming service. So definitely looking for more updates from them as time goes on, but they're fairly new on the market. Next is Corsair Gaming, which IPO'd this year. One of my favorite companies overall, I guess in my opinion. I like the company. So, hey, yeah, Corsair, if you're watching this, I would love to have a sponsorship from you all. I already have a couple of their products, but, Corsair, I think, definitely was IPO'd at a perfect time, especially, everyone's staying at home or working from home. So, I think this is a fantastic IPO. They touched 51.37, but, with the growth of gaming, going on and people buying PCs and working from home, I think this company is poised to continue a trend going up further, way past this 44.05 level. Next, we have GoodRx, which is the discount drug manufacturer. The drug company. So they don't manufacture drugs. They have like coupons where you can get discounted prices. I've used GoodRx, I think, like one time and tried to find like some cheaper prices. I think it's okay. Company. I just haven't used it too much more after that, but I've heard good things about it, and I see their cards at a lot of different places, like doctors' offices and like CVS's and stuff like that, or Walgreens and things like that. I see their card around, and it definitely helps out a lot. So they IPO'd this year. And Xpeng, so another EV company in China, IPO'd, and they had a pretty good run this year as well. Going to be looking for some more from them. They did touch the 74.49 level, but have kind of gone sideways after that. And they touched that like before December, so around November time frame. But I think, in my opinion, they kind of got overshadowed by NIO. But I think when 2021 comes, the entire EV space is going to be kind of front and center, spotlight for next year. So definitely going to be looking at them for the future. And then now I want to talk about how I have done. So, on the channel, I talk a lot about, all the different stocks, go over stocks, but I just want to show you guys how I've done this year. It was a pretty interesting year for me. I kind of traded a lot more than I usually do. But just want to go over, my year chart. So on my Robinhood account, on here, I got a little bit into Bitcoin. So this was recently. I haven't bought too much. Probably going to buy some more. I did a lot of options trading, but over the past year, I had a gain of $40,925.05. So overall, happy about that. Looking to gain more for next year, but overall I think the profit is pretty good. I had this, little run up right here that kind of was a crazy week. Went up, dramatically, but I was glad and definitely blessed to have been able to execute on that, and definitely, happy that I was able to, be able to make profits in the market. What has helped me a lot is talking to a lot of you all, staying invested, learning a lot of things along the way. So, doing the videos on YouTube definitely helps me a lot. Helps me, stay plugged into what's going on in the market, but also talking to a lot of you all in the comment section, talking to a lot of different people on the Patreon group, keeping up with stocks in general has definitely helped me. Reading a lot. I read so many different articles. I can't, really count how many hours I've spent reading articles, especially in preparation for the YouTube videos. But overall, I'm happy about the progress that I had for this year. But as you guys know, I have like 2 different portfolios. So this is my short-term day trading account. On my long-term account, we can see right here that I have for the year a market gain of $1,125.81, and dividends earned 115.18. So overall, pretty excited about that one, about this gain in this portfolio. I haven't really been putting too much money in here, but I think overall is fantastic. I'm happy to see it begin. We see starting value January 2nd, 2020 was $619. Net cash flow $5,042. If we go to activity on here, go to activity type and just do dividends only, we can see my dividend portfolio has just been like, every other or every week, there's been a deposit. So I mean, it may be small amounts, but it's kind of an every week sort of thing. And that's the way I wanted to set up my portfolio. I wanted to get, paid basically like every week. So that's kind of the way I set it up. You can set up your portfolio whatever way you want to, but this is the way I currently have it set up. So these are the different payouts that I have on here, and I'm looking to grow this even more. So, overall happy about it. And I think I learned quite a bit during this pandemic time. So, overall happy about that, and, interested to see how the next year will begin and how it'll grow. This account will grow even more. So that's basically a recap of my 2020. I hope everybody was able to lock in some profits. Drop a comment down below. Tell me what was your best trade for this year. Where were you able to lock in profits at? And good luck to everybody. Thank you all so much for subscribing to the channel. Or if you're not subscribed, and you just came and watched, I hope these videos gave you all value. That's my whole goal. If I don't get any donations or don't get any, thanks. I just hope that these videos help you all. That's the whole goal of the channel. So I'm glad that people are watching it. I'm seeing the watch or the views starting to go up. So I know that even if people don't say, hey, this video really helped me, I think that they are helping a lot of people, because I've heard some people say, hey, I made money on this trade. So that's the whole goal. I'm happy to see that at least one person is being helped, or a couple people are being helped. But thank you all for your support, and I'll try to make more videos as 2021 starts to begin. But Happy New Year to everybody out there, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.